dear EMEA customers. My name is Yoni Avital. I'm the CTO and one of the co-founders here in ControlUp. Really excited to be here and share with you the latest updates regarding our ControlUp real-time console insights. And we actually have some interesting news about other utilities we're about to publish. So again, welcome aboard. Feel free to ask questions at any point. Just use the chat window or the questions panel inside the GoToWebinar utility. We welcome any questions, and Amir is also on the line with me here, so we will try to answer questions live using the chat or question panel. And if something will be, we'll see like a repeated question or something if we think might interest the entire audience, then Amir will barge in and try to, we'll try to get the answer to everyone. Okay, so the agenda plan for today is on screen right now. I will share a few updates with you. That will be quite quick. I do want to go briefly over the architecture, both ControlUp Real-Time and Insights. I think it's always a good preview to the actual demo. And then, as usual, the main dish of this webinar will be a live demo of most of the new features we introduced in the recent releases, including some news about the new Hyper-V integration, XenDesktop integration with the XenDesktop site feature, a lot of new user experience features we added, including bandwidth monitoring, latency, application load time, some pretty cool stuff. We will also cover during the demo some of the insights reports. And finally, I do want to share with you two really exciting updates. One is the upcoming Logon Simulator. This is a new free utility we're about to publish to the entire community. So we'll cover that a bit, we'll show how it looks like, how it's working, etc. And finally, a quick update about the upcoming insights for on-premises customers. Okay, so as many of you know, basic ControlUp these days is not just a single product anymore, right? We have a suite of products which includes both ControlUp Real-Time, which is our main real-time dashboard running at the customer site. We have ControlUp Insights, the web-based reporting and analytics module, and we have some additional utilities coming quite soon. Now, the main news in regards to the real-time console is that just actually 2 days ago on Sunday, we released the latest ControlUp version. This would be ControlUp 6.1 build 792. Okay, so this is fresh from the oven. I recommend our entire customer base to upgrade to it as soon as possible. It includes a lot of bug fixes and stability enhancements over the original 6.0 release we released back in September. Okay, just a sec. Trying to get rid of the GoToWebinar applet. Just bear with me for a sec. Okay, this should be better now. Okay, so besides the new 6.01 release going to web 2 days ago, we obviously have some new reports in the Insights platform. We'll cover that as well. And two last updates I want to share with you guys. So first, some of you may already know that we are working with Andrew Morgan. He is a well-known CDP, V expert, MVP, working in the VDI space for a while now. And he's actually working with us today on 2 projects. One is the Logon Simulator, which we'll show during this presentation. And the other one, this is actually a future release we will integrate with ControlUp, is the NetScaler integration feature. So basically, we want to start monitoring the NetScaler gateway and the NetScaler appliances in ControlUp. So this is something we are already working on, but will be part of the upcoming ControlUp roadmap. And the last update I want to share with you guys is the fact that we actually enlisted a really bright guy. His name is Todd Shell. He used to be one of the CDPs. He is a PowerShell MVP, and he worked with Splunk during his long career. He's currently working with us in our new US entity, and he's mainly focusing right now on our new Insights on-premises offering which will be based on a Splunk OEM solution. So if we'll have time, I'll try to give you some updates about that specifically during the end of the webinar. Okay, so just before the live demo, as promised, we'll do a quick update about the architecture. Okay, so ControlUp by default, and I would say like 90% of our customer base is working in what we call the enterprise or online option, which means that we are actually, as a vendor, we are hosting the control plane, which includes the backend databases, the cloud servers, the insights database, license logic, etc. And on the customer premises, we're running only the following components. So, obviously we have our ControlUp agents running inside the VDI endpoints, XenApp servers, Horizon View, VDI endpoints, virtual servers, basically any Windows workload we can support. We have our own connections to the hypervisors, and with V6, our connection to the XenDesktop site. And obviously, we have the ControlUp real-time console itself and the ControlUp monitor service. Now, the ControlUp monitor service is basically a Windows service running on a dedicated VM, and it's in charge of two major operations. One is 24/7 incidents handling and alerts, and the second operation is basically to upload the historical data to ControlUp Insights. Okay, so again, on high level, we have basically three components running on premises. That would be the ControlUp agent, the ControlUp console, and the ControlUp monitor, and obviously the connections to the hypervisors and XenDesktop sites. And on the cloud front, we have the backend databases, which includes the configuration database, the insight database, and the license logic. We also offer an on-prem option where the customer can install locally the backend components. And as mentioned, we are going to also add support for insights on premises starting December this year. Okay, so let's move on to the live demo, and I'll try to cover most of the new features. And again, if you have any questions, anything you want to maybe go deeper, just use the chat or the questions panel. Okay, so starting with our ControlUp real-time console. So as you can see here, I'm running version 6.1.729. This is the latest version. It's available on our website. And again, I recommend anyone, whether he's using V5 or he's using the original V6 release, to upgrade to this latest version. A quick overview of the console before we dive into the new features. So on the left side, we have the tree of managed objects. Okay, starting with V6, we actually support three different object types or data sources. Okay, so one would be the hypervisor support. With V6, you can actually connect to either VMware ES6i, Xen Server 6 or 7, and the new addition is Hyper-V. So we fully support Hyper-V 2012 R2. It's working great in V6. We have quite a few customers using that, and it provides the whole feature set you're familiar with. We had with VMware and Xen Server. Besides the hypervisor integration, we added in V6, we added the option to actually integrate ControlUp with a XenDesktop site. So the concept is really similar to the hypervisor connection. The customer basically needs to specify the IP address or the name of one of the XenDesktop brokers. Again, this is relevant only for version 7X and above. Okay, so we fully support 7.6, 7.9, 7.11. The only prerequisite is to configure the broker name to provide valid XenDesktop site credentials. This could be a read-only account if you want. And just one thing to note, that either the console computer or a dedicated agent that you're using to connect to the site needs to have the PowerShell SDK installed. Okay, so it's basically a bunch of PowerShell SDK MSIs, or you can just install Studio and it will install all the PowerShell SDK as part of the installation. And lastly, the third data source is our own agent running inside the guest VMs. Okay, so we support any Windows workload, right? Anything from Windows XP to 2016, and obviously all the products on top of Windows. So we have special metrics for XenApps, XenDesktop, Horizon View, storefront, all the relevant Windows-based workloads. Okay, and obviously on the right side we have our main views, which do show the in real time both the host statistics, stats for VMs, for sessions, and we'll cover that during the demo. Okay, so starting with V6, as I just mentioned, we now fully support the 3 major commercial hypervisors we're seeing at customer sites. So you can see here, this is the host view, and in my lab environment, I'm connected to a vSphere cluster with 4 ESXi6 boxes. We have our XenServer cluster with 2 6.5 boxes, and now we have Hyper-V. Okay, so you can see here we have 2 Hyper-V 2012R2 servers. They are fully supported. The one big difference, probably, comparing this to the vSphere or XenServer support, is the fact that you have to add the Hyper-V VMs as managed computers before you can add them as an hypervisor. Okay, so you can see here in my case, I have a dedicated folder for the 2 Hyper-V servers. And once they're added in the console, when you go ahead here and click on Add Hypervisor, they will be the cluster will be automatically recognized, and you will be able to add it as a hypervisor connection. Okay, again, so the simple steps are: first, add the Hyper-V hosts as managed computers, deploy the agent, and then add it via this hypervisor connection screen. And just like the other hypervisors, you can actually drill down into a specific host. You can see all the VMs running on that specific host. And if the agent is deployed there, you can simply drill down into the VM itself, and as usual, see the sessions and processes. Okay, so full support for Hyper-V, and I think now it's really great, whether if you're only using Hyper-V or if you have Hyper-V in addition to XenServer or VMware. Just a quick hint in regards to this area, we're also going to add support for cloud-based VMs. Okay, so we are working on an AWS EC2 integration that will be part of the V7 release, and down the road we're looking both on Azure and also on the Acropolis, the Nutanix hypervisor itself. Okay, so we keep expanding the hypervisor supported list as we go along. Okay, so I do want to move on to one of the major features we added in V6, and that would be the XenDesktop integration part. Okay, so I'm now focusing on one of the XenDesktop sites. First, you will notice that once the site is actually configured, we automatically, let me again focus on the entire site. Okay, so we automatically discover 2 major components. First, we will automatically discover the brokers, which are part of the site. Like you can see in here, we have 2 brokers. In addition to the brokers, we automatically discover all the available delivery groups. Okay, and this is dynamic. So if you will add or remove a new delivery group, it will be automatically added or removed to the list you're seeing here on screen. Now, let's start reviewing what are the added values, views, and metrics we are presenting once XenDesktop integration is in place. Okay, so first, if you drill down to the built-in brokers object, you will see the brokers listed here. And you can see that we actually now have a new XD Broker Health score. And this is actually based on a list of tests we are running, which look both on the critical services, like the broker service, the monitor service, the MCS service, and also the major databases connections. Okay, so you can see here both we are monitoring the databases connections, and we are monitoring the critical services. If everything is connected, if everything checks out okay, the score will be 100%. Okay, if one of them goes down, it will also affect the overall percent of healthy broker score for the entire site. Okay. In addition, by the way, we can show you the percent of available hypervisor connections. By default, this stat will not affect the overall score, and you can play with this in the registry. You can either exclude specific hypervisor connections for monitoring, or you can say that this score will also affect the overall score. So it's part of the feature, as you can see here. Now again, if you look on a high level, if you look on the site object here, you can see this metric will actually tell you what's the percentage of healthy brokers in your environment. Okay, so in my case, I have 2 brokers. If one of them will be in a fail state, then this score will drop down to 50%. Okay, and obviously you can configure alerts based on this. Okay, so the usual ControlUp alerts. If something goes below a pre-configured threshold, you can get email alerts, mobile push notifications, etc. Okay. Regarding the folders, the delivery groups, we have some pretty cool metrics for delivery groups. I'm just focusing now on the delivery group section here. So for each delivery group, we show stats like the number of available computers or VDAs, I might say, how many disconnected sessions we have, how many VDAs are currently in use, how many are unregistered, and some metadata about the delivery group itself, right? The type, the kind, etc. Now, probably one of the most interesting metrics we added here in V6 is the XD group availability metric. Okay, so this is actually something we calculate inside ControlUp. We look on different metrics like whether the delivery group is enabled or not. We check the registration state of the maintenance mode of the delivery group, and we also check if there are available computers. If everything checks out, like in this case, you can see that it's enabled, it's not in maintenance mode, and we have available computers, then we will basically tell you here that the entire delivery group is available. And the same is true for, for this group, for example. You can see that it's enabled and not in maintenance mode, but we do not have any available VDAs. Okay? Now, if we look back on the entire site, you will see an interesting metric in here. You will see here the percentage of available delivery groups. Okay, so for the entire site, this line here, you can see that we have 29% of all of the delivery groups are actually available. And if we drill down, we can see exactly which are available and which are not available. So again, this metric can be configured for alerts. And it's also true for each and every specific delivery group. Okay, so this delivery group is available, this is available, and the other ones are currently not available based on the same stats I just mentioned. Okay, if we move on, to the VDA, to the VMS view, here you will see a list of all of the XenDesktop VDAs which are part of this site, along with some very interesting metrics. So obviously we have the interesting metrics we get from the PowerShell and OData API. So things like the maintenance mode, current state, the registration state, the VM power state, things like we actually now have the Xen app load, which is relevant for Xen app 7x VDAs. Okay, so this is equivalent for the queuefarm/load output in 6.5. And lots of metrics about the VDAs. Okay, the last registration failure reason. You can see it on screen, right? So dozens of metrics. Basically everything you can see in Studio or in Director will be available in here. And lastly, we have the same concept. We have the XD computer availability metric. And in this case, it takes into account something like 4 or 5 parameters: registration state, maintenance mode state, whether you have logons enabled or not, and the number of sessions if it's a client VDA. And based on all of these metrics, we decide if the VDA is available or not. So again, if you want to have a quick look, you can sort the grid based on the availability column and quickly see which VDAs are available or not. Okay, so this is really simplifying, I guess, the monitoring and management aspects of your XenDesktop VDAs. Another feature we added with the XenDesktop integration is actually the ability to disable or enable maintenance mode from ControlUp. Okay, so if you're during the day-to-day operation you're disabling and enabling maintenance mode, whether it's on VDAs or delivery groups, you no longer have to go to the Studio or Director UI. You can do it from here. Okay, so you can either select one, or you can go ahead and select a bunch of XenDesktop VDAs and go ahead and execute the XenDesktop actions. Okay, and the same is true also for delivery groups. You can right-click here and either disable or enable delivery group, or disable or enable delivery group maintenance mode. Okay. In addition to VDAs and delivery groups, we are also getting sessions data. Okay, so these are sessions discovered from the XenDesktop site, including some metadata about the session state, the protocol type, all kinds of stats we get from the XenDesktop infrastructure, including interesting things like, for example, which host or NetScaler gateway was used to launch the session. Okay, you can see in this case we have a node CSG in place, we have the storefront server, so all kinds of stats about the sessions. Now, one important thing I have to mention here is that, as usual in ControlUp, you can actually aggregate metrics from different data sources and show them on the same screen. Okay, so for example, let's see if I have one of the presets here. Let's look on the. Let's focus on our Xen app, on our XenDesktop site, XenDesktop 7.11 site. So you see we have something like 13 sessions in here. Okay, now if I'll go to the XenDesktop sessions preset, I will see the XenDesktop related metrics. Okay, so things like the protocol type, etc. And if I'll switch to the default session preset, you will see the regular CPU, memory, I/O, protocol, bandwidth, latency, and stuff like that. You can always combine the two, right? So you can click on columns, and you can say, you know what? I want to add to the default preset. I want to add the XenDesktop protocol. Let's see what we have in here. Well, actually, some of them are already presented here. Okay, so we can actually add them to the same view, and we can combine metrics coming from the XenDesktop site and the agent in the same view. And we'll cover that in some of the other scenarios as well. Okay, so just to summarize the XenDesktop integration feature, we have a broker health module. Okay, we have the delivery group view, where we can see delivery group state, metadata, availability. We have the VDA view with all the new metrics and the sessions view. Okay, and obviously some of the built-in XenDesktop actions. Okay, so moving on, the next topic I want to cover, and I think you will find it quite interesting, is the user experience module, both for monitoring, analysis, and optimization. Okay, so I just switched to the sessions view, and I want to show you some of the cool things we have in here. Okay, so in the sessions view, right now with V6 or 6.1, we actually have quite a few interesting metrics which are all directly related to the user experience of each and every session. Okay, so logon duration, that's that was there since version 4. We'll cover that in a bit, but that's nothing new. Application load time. This is a brand new in V6. We're actually monitoring here the launch times of Windows apps. We'll cover that in a sec. Protocol latency. Again, this was available in V5, but a crucial, this is a crucial UX parameter. And new in V6, we now have the ability, the ability to monitor in real time both the bandwidth usage, whether it's the average bandwidth usage of the session or the last recorded metric we have for bandwidth usage. Okay, and finally we have the bandwidth limits. Okay, so here we can actually see from the HDX perspective how much bandwidth is available for the session. Okay, so again, logon duration, application load time, and the protocol metrics. And if you look on all of them, this is a really great indication of what's the current state of the user experience from the end user perspective. Okay, let's start with the new bandwidth metrics. Okay, so I can obviously sort this based on the average bandwidth usage. Okay, so right now, and by the way, this fully supports both ICA-HDX and also PCOIP. So if you are in Horizon View shop, you will get the same stats for the Horizon View PCOIP protocol. Now let's look on the bandwidth usage. Okay, so this is actually an HDX session, and you can see that on average it consumes almost 6 megabits of bandwidth, which is quite high. Okay. Now we have two ways, or two methods into getting more data about what's going on in here. Okay, so first we can right-click the session, and one of the script-based actions we published a few weeks ago is the Analyze HDX Bandwidth script-based action. This will actually go and sample some of the HDX metrics and the output will show you which virtual channels actually contribute to the high bandwidth usage. Okay, so this is the output here. We can maybe focus a bit so you can see that. So we can see that what makes most of the 5 megabits bandwidth usage is mostly thin wire, which means graphics. And we do have some bandwidth being used by the audio bandwidth. Okay, but if it was a printing job or a clipboard, you would see it in here. Okay, so this is one great way to get some more in-depth data about the various HDX virtual channels and how they affect the overall bandwidth usage. Okay, so that's one thing. In addition, obviously, we can always use the good old get session screenshot feature. Okay, and actually see what the user is doing right now. Obviously, this is a lab environment, so I'm going to use that without any special improvements. But now you can see that this user is actually running a YouTube video. Okay, which obviously explains the high bandwidth usage. Actually, I have the session running in here, so let's see if I can show you something nice. Okay, so this is side by side the session we're showing here. Let's filter the list a bit. Okay, so obviously this session here is the one session consuming the bandwidth. Now, if I go ahead and stop the video in real time, you will see that last recorded metric in here will start dropping almost to 0 in a matter of seconds, and the average will take a while because it's averaging the last samples. Okay, so you can see immediately the last recorded bandwidth dropped to 0 point something, and you can see that slowly the session average will drop to a normal rate. Okay, so this is just to demonstrate the power, I guess, of the real-time end user experience monitor we have in ControlUp. Okay, so moving on to some of the other user experience metrics. Obviously, we have login duration, right? This has been here for a while. Let's take a nice example here. Okay, so we have CU demo here, which login duration is higher than 60 seconds, which is pretty slow. First, we have our initial breakdown columns. Okay, so if you scroll the way to the right, you will see the profile load time, the group policy load time. If it's a published desktop, you will see the shell load time, and all the other components and how long it took to process them. Now, in here, we can also leverage script-based actions. We can actually go ahead and run the analyze GPO extension load time to see, basically which. Let me focus here. So we can see which, group policy extensions took the highest processing time during the login phase. In this case, you can see the drive maps is the major culprit. It took more than 30 seconds, obviously explaining the very high group policy processing load time. Okay. Now, it is important to mention that all of this data is also available historically. Okay. So if I go ahead and look on, for example, the session activity insights report, you will see here a list of all of your historical user sessions, including, for example, the historical login duration data. Okay, so this is one of the existing columns we have here. It will show the login duration for each historical user sessions, and we also have the breakdown. Okay, so we have the login duration. We can sort. We can sort based on login duration to see if over the last 24 hours we have any we had any special issues like with this guy here. And we can scroll right and see the breakdown also from an historical perspective, right? Profile, group policy, etc. So again, it's available both for each and every historical session, and you can also look on the overall login duration report, which will give you a high-level overview of your environment. Okay, so this will show you the logons over time. Okay, for each slice, it will show you the average login duration. And here, this is the overall number for all sessions over the last week worth of data. And you can obviously, specify a specific silo and see if maybe there things are different, right? So if you look on, I want to focus specifically on the new XenDesktop. Let's look specifically on the new XenDesktop 7.11 site, and we'll see if the numbers are different. Okay, so this will show me the overall data, but specifically for sessions running on our XenDesktop 7.11 site. And you can see that in here, things are actually better, right? We have a lower average than the overall entire environment we have. Okay, so going back to the console, we covered, we covered the protocol bandwidth, we covered the login duration stats. I want to show you a new feature we have in V6, and that is the new application load time reporting. Okay, so let's look on my session here. Let's specifically look on the session running on CU XenVDA. Okay, so that would be probably this session here. So if you look here, we actually have two interesting metrics to watch. Okay, one would be the average application load time. Okay, so this is the overall average application load time for the entire session. And if we look on the processes list, we have a new application load time which shows the load time for each relevant user mode application. Okay, now this is the settings screen. Let me show you. In here, you can initially enable the feature globally for your entire organization, and you can play with the default whitelist processes. Okay, by default, once you will enable the feature, we are watching Office and browsers. And if you want to add your own, line of business application, you can just go here, type here, whatever you want. And once this is configured, we will start monitoring this specific process for the application load time data. Now, let me show you how it looks like. Okay, so this is the same session. Let's minimize this. Let's minimize everything in here. I actually have a pretty big Excel file in here, like 30 megs, okay? And I'm going to open it from the user. Now, from the user perspective, you will notice that this takes something like 15 or 18 seconds to load, which is quite slow from the user perspective. Okay, so it took a while. We see the file opening in here. If we go back to the same session, we will see in a few seconds we will see the Excel app we just opened with the app load time. Okay, so there you go. This is the Excel process I just launched, and you can see that the application load time. This is an accurate measurement of how long it took the process to load from the end user perspective. Okay, so it's affecting both the actual process here, and it's also affecting the overall average. Okay, so if I'll go ahead and I will open some quick app like Notepad. Okay, so this took almost like less than a second. Okay, so if I'll go back in here, in a few seconds I will see the Notepad instance with a very short application load time. You can see it in here, so 0.6 seconds, and in a few seconds it will also affect the overall session average, obviously lowering it. Okay, so you have a really cool way of determining how apps are launching inside the user session. And I think it's a great addition to the logon duration and the protocol metrics, and it gives you a very solid view of what the user is feeling from the VDI perspective. Okay. Now, again, Amir, if you're seeing any questions about the XenDesktop integration piece or app load time, just let me know and I will cover them during this this webinar. Okay, the last thing I want to mention in regards to the application load time feature is this. Okay, so as you have seen here, we have the ability to show you the load time for each relevant user mode process. Now, we're actually about to release soon a free utility, which we call the application load time profiler, which will enable customers to do two things. Okay, so first, let me show you the utility. Okay, so this is the upcoming utility. Okay, it's called application load time profiler. It will enable you to do two things. First, it will enable you to actually read the debug logs that ControlUp can generate and get more details about why, for example, it took Excel 13 seconds to load. Okay, actually, I have here on disk some of the logs. Okay, so I can open them, and you will see that once you open the log file, the utility will show you. It will try to basically visualize the reason behind deciding the 14, in this case, the 14 seconds load time. Okay, it will show you first the module count. So this is the graph showing how many modules, how many DLLs were loaded while the app was launching. It will show you the I/O data bytes. Okay, so this is the I/O being generated while the app is launching. In this case, you can see it. It obviously explains the slow launch because it opened 30 megabytes of data. And finally, it shows you the visible Windows count, which is another parameter we're using. Okay, so one goal of the utility is to give you more data about app launch times. Okay, by the way, if you want to generate the log files for the utility, you actually have to configure a reg key on the relevant ControlUp agents. It's basically something like this. Let me show you. So just open regedit on the relevant ControlUp agent targets. Okay, you can go in here, and if you go to the app load time feature, in here you can actually create a new string. Okay, it's called debug path, and once you will configure here a valid path like ctemp, we will start logging the debug logs to the disk. Okay, so again, the main use case for the debug files is to open them with this ControlUp utility. Now, this is not yet available for the general public, but if someone wants to grab it, I will happily share this utility with you guys. So just send an email to support@controlup.com, ask for the ControlUp application load time utility, and we'll send you the binaries. Okay, now the second use case of the profile utility is to actually benchmark application load times yourselves. Okay, so you can see here, for example, I chose WinWord 2016. I can click on Start. The utility will open the Word document, and behind it you can see the various graphs running in real time. So the module count, the IO usage, and the visible Windows count. And after 20 seconds, we will try to actually calculate the load time. Okay, so now 20 seconds have passed now. And now the utility looked on the data gathered and decided that the load time was 2.8 seconds. Okay, we can do the same thing with I don't know, Notepad or Excel. If we took the same example like the large Excel file, you will see that in real time how it looks like. You can see that while the file is opening, you can see that the data bytes per second is really keeps climbing all the time, which basically tells us that the app is not fully initialized. You can see that the module count is pretty stable. And once the app is fully loaded, like in here, then we decide that it's ready for the end user. Okay, so again, we are going to publish it soon for the general public. Again, for two goals. One is to create your own benchmarks, and the other is to open ControlUp agent debug files. If someone wants it now, just send an email, and we'll happily share the binaries. Okay, so I do want to cover some of the new insights reports we have here, and some of the upcoming plans for insights. Okay, so we covered some of the some of the reports here. Obviously, one great thing we have in insights is the ability to basically look on performance trends over a week, a month, a year, or whatnot, and drill down to the relevant process or user causing an issue. Okay, so now I'm looking on the host trends reports. This will show me all of my vSphere, Hyper-V, and XenServe hypervisors, and I can look on the trend. Like in the IO utilization, I can see some pretty interesting peaks. So I can click on them, and Insights will show me which hosts were actually causing that historical peak. I can click on a specific hypervisor, in this case on ES603, and I can get the specific graphs for ES603. And if I want to analyze the IO peak here, I can click on the IO issue, and now Insights will show me which VMs actually caused that issue. Okay, in this case, CRDSH01, I can click on that, and Insights will automatically move to the VM trends report, and will show me data for that specific VM. And now, since I'm looking on a specific VM, I can go here and click on the same data point, and the cool thing here is that Insights shows me the actual processes that caused the issue. Okay, so the point is basically the Insights has all the data, right? VMs, sessions, processes, hosts, and you can use that to do historical analysis for any bottleneck related issue and see the culprit in real time. Okay, obviously this is demos now. Unfortunately, it takes a while. Usually this should not take more than a few seconds. I'm not sure why it's taking a while. Let's try another data point here. And we should see the process causing the, in this case, the IO peak back in time. Okay, we'll give it a few more seconds. Now, while this is running, we have other insights reports we released. So obviously we can show you the Citrix license usage. Okay, so first this is the result, right? So this is the historical process that caused the issue. Now, so some new reports. Okay, so Citrix license usage. In order to get this report, you do need to push the ControlUp agent to your Citrix license server. Okay, so you can see in here we have a Citrix license server, and if we focus on that, so again, the only prerequisite is for you guys to deploy the agent on the Citrix license server. We will automatically detect that the Citrix license server is running there, and it will show in real time the license usage, like you see here. And we'll also upload this for historical analysis. So if you go back to Insights, you can now select, just a sec. Why am I not seeing the, let me refresh this, not sure why. We should see, basically here you should see the list of Citrix license servers which upload data. I'll see if I can get this to work here. Maybe I have an issue with my, my lab environment. Yeah, okay. Not sure why I'm not seeing it in here. I'll have to check that. But, oh, sorry, there you go. It just took a while, okay? So I can now choose the relevant Citrix license server, and Insights will show me the data, right, over time. So you can see here this is the XenDesktop Platinum user device license, okay? You can see the usage over time. Here we have the Xen App Enterprise Concurrent Retail license, which is being used really, not really being used in our environment. And we have the XenDesktop Enterprise User Device Retail license. Okay, so you can look at this again over time, and try and kind of see the data, analyze the license usage, and work with the results. Okay, another interesting report is protocol latency, and again, this is based on the raw data I showed you guys in the real-time console. Okay, so if we look here again, so for each PCO-IP or HDX session, we have the protocol latency, bandwidth, and real-time usage. Okay, so if we go to the report, let's see if we can show you data for the last 24 hours. Let me just refresh this in here, sorry. So the protocol latency report will show you two things, right? It will show you the overall protocol bandwidth, protocol latency average. I'm not sure why it's not working in here. Let's see if I can get the branch data. Just a sec. Okay, so this would be the average protocol latency in my ControlUp demo environment. And I can go ahead and select specific branches and show the latency only for that specific branch. So in this case, the ControlUp IL office is obviously really close to the data center, so I'm expecting a very low average latency. You see that the top peak is like 4 milliseconds, which is really great. Okay, and again, you can play with this. By the way, in order to configure the branch list, you have to at least once go to the branch mapping settings screen in the console, and in here you need to configure the IP ranges alongside the branch name. Okay, you can also import a CSV file from AD sites and services. So, and once this is configured, it will be available in the protocol latency report. Okay, and finally, regarding Insights, we have the new application usage and application trends reports. Okay, so you can basically select an application, okay, any application running in your environment, and you can see the usage trend both from a count perspective and also from a footprint perspective. Okay, so let's go ahead and choose, choose Internet Explorer. Okay, are we looking on the versions? Now, this takes a while. It's a pretty intense query, but the result will show you the average CPU and the average RAM footprint for all of the, in this case, Internet Explorer instances running on your entire environment, or you can obviously choose specific sites or silos. Okay, now once the data is there, you can click on any data point and you can see on how many samples it's based. Okay, so this is the average CPU usage over time, the average RAM footprint, and the average I utilization. And if I click on one of the data points, we can see, for example, that in here, this is based on 72 concurrent instances. Okay, so just to explain the logic here, if on average we have 50 megs of RAM for each instance and 70 instances are running, then this means that Internet Explorer in this specific data point consumes something like 3.5 gigs of RAM on your entire environment. Okay, so again, this is some of the new and existing reports and insights. We are working on some pretty interesting reports. We're going to show you a comparative analytics of the app usage report for your stats against the global benchmarks. We're actually working on a new homepage that will show general stats about the hypervisors, VMs, sessions, and all kinds of interesting insights like, hey, yesterday you had two computers that were running on 100% CPU for more than an hour. Okay, so I think the new Insights homepage is going to be pretty big. We are working intensely on that, and hopefully around Q1 2017 we'll be able to launch it with some other interesting reports. Okay, so I do want to move on. Let's say I do want to cover in the time we have left the Logon simulator I mentioned, and hopefully give you a quick update on the insights for on-premises customers. Okay, so Logon simulator. Let me show you how that looks like and what's the idea here. Okay, so this is a dedicated Windows 7 VM which run the Logon simulator. So the Logon simulator is a standalone utility. We are going to publish it hopefully next week or the week after that. It's a standalone utility which allows you to configure your storefront or gateway URL, the relevant resource you want to launch, whether it's a published app or a published desktop, the credentials, and then you can basically repeatedly run these tests, okay? And the utility will monitor each connection and will tell you whether it was successful or if it failed, what was the failure reason. Okay, so we have really interesting metrics here, really interesting data about this. And basically the main use case is this, right? You can run the Logon simulator on your data center or on specific endpoints in your branches, and you can continuously monitor the full end-to-end cycle of your farm availability. Okay, this fully supports NetScaler Gateway and Storefront. We fully support XenApp 6.5 and XenDesktop 7X published apps and published desktops. And another cool part here is that we are writing the results to the event log. Okay, so each and every test, the result is written to the event log of the endpoint, whether it's a success or, like in this case, a failure, with the reason. And what we're doing here in the background, we're actually running a ControlUp agent on this endpoint. And the agent is intercepting the Windows events, and it can notify you in real time if, for example, the Logon simulator failed to log on 5 times repeatedly. Okay, we have a special event if we have five consecutive failures. So the way it looks like is basically, let me show you, it basically looks like this. We have the Logon simulator running, all the time in an interactive session. And if you look on the real-time console, we have a trigger configured. Let me show you how it looks like. Okay, so we have a trigger that basically looks on the Windows event log that the Logon simulator generates, and the Logon simulator will generate a specific 1,100 event if it failed for 5 times. And if this happens, we're actually sending an email alert, and we're also sending a mobile push notification. So if you think about it, we have a really great way, and again, the utility is free, which I think is really great, an excellent way to make sure your environment is up and running, including all the components, right? Because if someone can actually, if the test user can actually complete a Logon cycle, this means that the storefront works, NetScaler works, AD works, the site works, right? Everything checks out. Okay? So again, this is the Logon simulator. We already sent it to our beta community. If someone wants to test it now, again, just send an email to support. We are going to publicly release this in a week or two. We will have a Citrix blog with a download link We will have a product page on our website. We're going to keep enhancing this utility with feature requests. Like one thing which is in the oven is to support NetScaler two-factor authentication logons. Hopefully we can get this working in a couple of months. And again, I think it's a great addition both for existing customers who can add this as another data collector or logon simulation to ControlUp, and everyone else, right? You can use this as a standalone utility and just watch the event log or the real-time tool for the results. Okay, so this is pretty much it about the logon simulator. And I do want to wrap up with a very quick update about the upcoming Insights module for on-premises customers. Okay, so I think I have here, right. Oh, let me just a sec, we'll unhide the slide. Okay, so as you probably know, right, ControlUp Insights is a cloud-based service, right? It runs on Amazon. It's working great for any online customer. Now, we do have a few customers who cannot, for whether it's from a policy or whether it's from a compliance point of view, they cannot work with the cloud-based service. And we know that a lot of them do want to get the Insight solution for historical reports and analysis, and that's why we're working on the on-prem option. Now, the beta is planned for December, so next month we are going to start the ControlUp Insights on-premises beta, and you can see the high-level architecture in here. Okay, so basically it's the same ControlUp on-prem solution with the new Insights on-premises server. Okay, so it's going to be based on a Splunk OEM technology. So we are obviously hiding it as part of our own installers, but in the background or under the hood, it will be based on a Splunk database and web servers. Okay, the reports will be very similar to the reports you have in the online solution. And again, it's a very similar solution, but obviously the major difference is the fact that it will be available completely on premises. Okay, we will share more details when it's available. If anyone wants to opt in for the beta, again, just send an email to support@controlup.com, and we'll be happy to add you. And during December, we will contact you with the binaries for testing. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed the webinar. I think we covered most of the new features in V6.1. Again, the major highlights, just to quickly repeat them. 6.01 is available for download, so if anyone is running a previous build, go ahead and upgrade. Check out the new Insights reports, whether it's the app trends, Citrix license usage, or whatnot. Watch for the logon simulator utility. Will be available for download shortly via Citrix or via our website. And Insights on-prem, right? So if you're an on-prem customers, you can opt in for the beta. Now, Amir, if there are any questions you want me to mention right now, then go ahead. And if not, as you can see on screen, if you're not already a customer, just go to our website. We have a fully functioning 30 days free trial. No strings attached. The installation is very, very easy, especially if you go with the online option. Okay, so obviously we host the backend components. It's just a matter of running the console and connecting it to the agents and relevant hypervisors and XenDesktop sites. I really, really want to thank everyone. Okay, it was a great webinar, and stay in touch. Hope you enjoyed it.